The afternoon is divided into two sessions. The first session is Smart Energy Cities as frontrunners, where Dilay will be the moderator. There's a number of panel presenters, and there will be a discussion among the presenters. There will be a break around 3 o'clock, and 3:15 we will continue with the second session, City Networks Driving the Energy and Climate Transition, moderated by Kristina Botskova, and also with a number of very qualified presenters and participants. A lot of the afternoon here is inspired and also taking lessons away from the SmartEnCity, which you will also see when you look at the conference website, that the SmartEnCity project have been supporting the creating this conference, and we will see this footprint here in the especially the afternoon session. And at least in the first session, majority of people are from the SmartEnCity organization. But Dilay, thanks for taking the moderation here, and I will hand over the floor to you, and you will take us safe into this front runner session here.
Thank you, Peter, for your kind words and also a nice summary of the previous sessions. I also would like to say welcome to the Sonderborg Climate Neutrality Conference 2021. We are really happy to welcome you today. My name is Dilay Kesten Erhart. I'm from Steinbeis, Europazentrum, Germany, Stuttgart, which is responsible for the dissemination, communication, and exploitation work for SmartEnCity project. And I want to welcome you all to our session in track B, Smart Energy Cities as frontrunners, planning and execution of integrated energy plans from the SmartEnCity project. We are happy that so many of you are joined today. Before we start, we would like to present the SmartEnCity project briefly. Here you can see our one of the 17 smart city projects funded by the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program. In SmartEnCity, we have 3 lighthouse cities and 2 follower cities. In our lighthouse cities are Sonderborg in Denmark, Tartu in Estonia, and Vitoria-Gasteiz in Spain. In our follower cities are Lecce in Italy and Asenovgrad in Bulgaria. Overall, we are 37 partners from 6 countries working on the project. We have started in February 2016, and we will end next year, July, after 6.5 years. If you would like to learn more about the SmartEnCity, please have a look at our website. In case you have any questions after the session today, feel free to send an email to info@smartencity.eu. And the one last thing before we get started, please note that this session will be recorded. By staying here, you automatically agree to the recording. So, okay, let's get started. The title of this session, as I said previously, planning and execution of the integrated energy plans from the SmartEnCity project. The first presentation will be taken from Koldo. From his presentation is Cities for Zero methodology. Then 3 experts from our lighthouse cities will speak about their integrated energy planning approaches. Peter Rathje from ProjectZero will speak about Sonderborg approach. Raimond Tamm from Tartu city government will speak about the Tartu approach. And finally, Beatriz García-Monco Piñeiro from the city of Vitoria-Gasteiz will speak about the Vitoria-Gasteiz approach. Michele from Lecce share their experience together with later Ivanka Dimova from Asenovgrad. Afterwards, there will be a panel discussion with the 5 speakers, of course, with you, the participants. So I just want to have a nice small ice-breaking session with the Mentimeter. Now, we would like to know what type of organization do you represent. Please use the code. Go to www.menti.com and use code 459039 and 4183 and try to answer this question. So we are getting some answers. I would say we will have 4 5 seconds more, and then we will have some information about each other, and also speakers has some information about the audience. Then, okay, it seems we have representatives from government. We have representatives, 11% of representatives from academical and companies and from the, could you mute yourself? If you're not talking, could you please mute your computer? Thank you so much. So we are getting back to our presentation. We will start with Koldo. Koldo currently works as a researcher at the Tecnalia Research and Innovation within the Urban Transformation Lab and has been within SmartEnCity project from the beginning. He is an architect with a Master of Science in Sustainable Cities. His field of research is integrated planning, innovation in smart sustainable cities and urban environments. Okay, so now it's time to hand over to Koldo to start the session. Welcome, Koldo.
Thank you very much, Dilay, for your nice words. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I will just try to get control of the screen. Yeah, I think it works. Okay, so I will try to present and give a bit of framework to the next presentations from the cities. I will present the Cities for Zero methodology, which is the theoretical background we've given to the cities to try to help them in their work in progress on planning the potential plans and actions to be delivered in order to achieve carbon neutrality in their cities. This is going to be a very short presentation, just 10 minutes. But if you type on Google Cities for Zero, you can find some background documents, both scientific and for dissemination, so you can get more details about it. So the main objective of this methodology is just to invite cities to take action, as the Paris Agreement started to just foster, and it's doable. It's not easy at all, but step by step, we think cities are able to do with commitment the necessary steps towards a proper plan and proper implementation works. And what we will do is, as I was saying, first a bit of theory, trying to explain this methodology. Then the representatives from the 5 cities of the project will give their practical background, and then we will discuss a little bit as Dilay was saying. So I will just jump right away to present the methodology, and just to give a bit of context. We know we are experimenting a global impact. You've heard all sessions from this morning. We are beating all records from greenhouse gas emissions and also at local level, unacceptable levels of urban pollution. Lots of reports that are stating what all we know, but the thing is that we have to do something about it, and we are trying to put cities at the core of this fight, and more specifically at municipal level. And this is why we brought in the project also with Peter and the help from ProjectZero and all the SmartEnCity partners was the Smart Zero Carbon City concept. And it's just an idealistic way of describing a city in energy and climate terms. We say a Smart Zero Carbon City is a city where the carbon footprint is nearly eliminated. The energy demand is kept to a minimum. The energy supply is entirely renewable and clean, and resources are intelligently managed by our and efficient citizens. I mean, it's just a lot of statements that are not easy, of course, to achieve. But at least we have to put the first stepping stones towards this objective. This is what we are trying to do in SmartEnCity, adapting our methodology to 5 different cases all around Europe. And the strategy, the methodology consists of 3 different stages. First, strategic stage, trying to plan at city level the way, both short, mid, and long term, towards carbon neutrality, identifying the key projects to be implemented in the city. Then we jump to stage B, the design stage, where we try to design all those projects and try to create an implementation plan. And then finally we jump to stage C, where we try to execute all the works designed before, try to assess the performance of those projects and try to reflect on the process. So we get a circular flow and try to iterate the process until we get our goals. As I said, today we are going to focus on stage A at city level, all the planning stage that we perform in SmartEnCity. And this is just done in 6 different steps, but this doesn't mean this process is linear. Some cities will have some steps already covered, some others don't, and that way sometimes you go from 4 to 2 to 3. Of course, reality is a bit more messy than just theory. But first step, we call it engage. The first thing is just to have at municipal level, and it can be within the municipality or outside, as ProjectZero, for example, is an example of an NGO foundation that is steering this process with the municipality, but we need a local partnership towards this Smart Zero Carbon City. This is a kind of a local group that is going to look ahead and try to provide all necessary steps, try to plan them, all necessary steps in order to achieve the carbon neutrality goals. And this can mean maybe a different governance model. It must involve different stakeholders from the quadruple helix, government, industry, academia, citizens. And also it can bring it can bring to light the need of transforming a bit the institutions we have and maybe create new groups. For example, a new department in the municipality, as the case of Vitoria. I mean, there are different ways because, of course, each local context is different. But once we have that group that is leading strategically the way towards the Smart Zero Carbon City or the carbon neutrality, we need to make an X-ray of our city and really know how it's performing. And for that, we need to gather a lot of information. We call it the city background information package, but let's understand that it's just the background information to perform all the analysis we have to develop in order to plan good actions and to execute the works that are coming later. And this can be done by very analogic tasks like reviewing all your strategies and documents at municipal level and try to bring the value of them, perform interviews with experts, surveys, policies, etc., and then analyze very well all the key city systems for an energy transition in the city. The energy sector, building stock, mobility, ICTs, your engagement, dynamics, waste, water, etc. And then finally try to quantify all that and try to perform a rigorous, let's say, with data, proper data, CO2 emissions baseline, because this will be the base to perform all the quantification and the potential impact of the actions you are going to plan. Once we have that X-ray and that we know how all the specificities the city has in terms of energy and climate, we perform a diagnosis, and this can be easily done through a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, which are the internal part, and then opportunities and threats, which are the external part of the city, and then try to do that as participated as possible. Try to perform key stakeholders groups and try to bring them to the debate and to generate a stable group in order to participate the planning actions that are going to be developed. So everybody agrees on the final result. And for that, as I was saying, it's important to perform a CO2 emissions baseline, and then somewhere where we can quantify and try to modify all the actions we are planning in the future. And for that, it's very important to develop an energy model. There are several tools, and we just have to pick one and then pick an expert on this and try to reflect that. So all our debates are based on data. Well, I will skip this, but this is an example of on how to show that to their stakeholders. Okay, once we have a diagnosis, then it's time to look ahead to the future and try to see where we put the arrow, try to generate future scenarios, try to generate a city vision agreed by all stakeholders. And for that, we need the help of engagement experts to perform workshops in your city with all those key stakeholders. Try to be as representative as possible, generating scenarios, both qualitative, gathering inputs, and we have some methodologies on that, our colleagues from IBS, and also supported by qualitative data from the energy modeling part I was talking before. And with all that, try to generate different scenarios to perform a discussion and to achieve an agreed preferred vision for the city, voted by the stakeholders, and that they have reached some kind of consensus. And this is done through workshops. We have some reports describing all that, so of course you can ask and we can provide you with that information. And once we have one common vision for the city for 2030, for 2050, we have to, of course, set the specific time frame. We have just to perform a plan in the classic planning cascade, setting first the main goals for the city for that period, and then trying to, through different strategic lines, to identify key projects for the city. This is the case of Sonderborg. They performed several groups, and each group was appointed with the calculated amount of CO2 tons, and this was addressed by specific projects in order to tackle that. And finally, try to integrate the outcomes of that plan into the planning dynamics of your city. Maybe you have to update your land use city master plans. You have to ensure legal viability and land use provision. Maybe municipal competences. You have to make some capacity building within the municipality. But of course, it's important that the plan is not kept into a drawer, but that is coming to reality, and that the municipal staff and the private stakeholders of the city are making their plan as theirs, because they will be the people that will have to implement all that. And of course, all these activities, is important that they are steered by the group that we explained in step one. That local steering group that is steering all this process. So of course, this is just very fast, a theoretical point of view, but it has been adapted to the local context of Sonderborg, Tartu, Vitoria, Lecce, and Asenovgrad. They will right now explain their experience, their planning experiences, and it's just that each city has to find its own way. just one last note. I know I'm out of time, Dilay, but it's just to show the audience our SmartEnCity network, where we have a website, different city solutions, webinars, a lot of material, just to try to replicate the actions of the project, and just try to bring what we've learned in this project, the 3 lighthouse cities, our 2 follower cities, and then already more than 50 network cities and still growing, and try to keep this snowball effect and try to achieve our main goal, that is make our European cities to take action. So let's see what our cities have to say today. I'm really looking forward to hear their experiences right now.
Thank you. Thank you for that excellent presentation, Koldo. If you have questions for Koldo, please add them in the chat, and we will able to answer to some during the question and answer session at the end. Any questions we can get to the end, the answer in the chat feature, or you can and private email through this email addresses. And now we will continue with Peter, yeah, let's I guess he can control. He took the control. Okay, Peter Rathje has the managerial responsibility for the ProjectZero secretariat. And he worked since 2007 to translate the ProjectZero vision into the concrete plans, and subsequently execute this in collaboration with the relevant stakeholders. Peter has also been an active board member of business and employer organization, and between 2007 and 2009 was also the CEO of the Sonderborg Port Company. So welcome, Peter. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dilay, and thank you for the introduction, and thank you, Koldo, for setting the frame. And as you rightly mentioned, each of the 5 cities and cases we will now present here have combined that with the own DNA, but they still follow the same route, the same methodology. Let me try and see if I can move the presentation. Yes. What I will talk about is, I think you all, at least those of you who joined from 9 o'clock, saw the presentation of Sonderborg. The project have developed. It started 2007. So I will give a very short introduction to the project. Then I will talk about how the SmartEnCity project, this methodology, 6-step methodology, has helped Sonderborg build a robust roadmap 2025, because this is our, you could say, plan for how to achieve 75% accumulated CO2. And then I will talk about executed, because the plan was built 2018. So the interesting part is no longer just the plan, but also how execution take place. First of all, it's important to realize, some of you might listen to our mayor this morning. He mentioned not only climate, but he also mentioned the job creation associated with cities entering this and combating the climate challenge. This is also important in Sonderborg. It's not an easy count. I think it's actually easier to count carbon than it is to count green jobs, but it is doable. But we should not forget that also the good life, not only of young people, but also of all citizens of Sonderborg have to be considered as an integrated part of what we are doing. This is our location. We are more than 50,000 citizens. We are less than 100. You could say a typical size of a municipality in Denmark. We have a lot of territory. We have 2/3 on an island, which adds some complexity to transport. At least we have the biggest industry group. Some of you might hear Jørgen Mads Clausen from the chairman from the family behind the Danfoss company this morning. This is a huge global company, but it has its headquarters still on the top of that island, where what is called Nordborg. Apart from that, we have farming and food and tourism as major sources of income. ProjectZero, the project is the Sonderborg Shared Climate Ambition. And since 2007, when the project started, we have managed to achieve a little bit more than half of our baseline 700,000 tons of carbon. The 2025 challenge, when we looked into creating this plan, the roadmap, it was the third iteration of planning. I think first time it was complicated, second time it was also a challenge, third time we had to learn from the previous two iterations, and we also put ourselves into very high ambitions because the goal by 2025 is to remove additional 400,000 tons of carbon, but as I mentioned, also learn from the past, and it should be based on co-creation. So how much is 1 ton of carbon? This is equivalent to 1 ton of carbon, a balloon 10 meters in diameter. And certainly when we show this balloon, people will say, okay, now we understand this carbon discussion here. It's a huge volume that we all contribute to. I think this is the ideal picture of Sonderborg. Unfortunately, this is not a general assembly of ProjectZero. This was 2017 when Scouts had their European Scouts in Sonderborg. There were 40,000 people sharing almost all the same DNA across borders and being very enthusiastic also with climate solution. For Sonderborg, I think we understand it's time to act, but it also action have to be taken not only by one party, the companies, the municipality. We all have to feel responsible, and it's a shared responsibility. This is what Koldo showed when we wanted to do this planning and remove 400,000 balloons or tons of carbon. We cut it into 8 slices. They are not equal, but we had to find a connection to society. So here you see different type of citizens or tenants. You see different types of companies. You see the farming. You also see that we have addressed where's the green energy gonna come from, and also what is the potential for energy generation. We had for several years been looking into energy efficiency. You heard also, I think, Jørgen Mads Clausen saying this is also the DNA of our, I would say, majority of our companies are very good in technologies aligned with energy efficiency. So is the university, the STU campus of also located in Sonderborg. We realized, first of all, our use of energy had to be more smart, and we also had to increase use of renewable from different sources. So we talked about a shift of gear. We created an 8-step model. Actually, I think Koldo showed some graphic of it. We invited 100 representative people, majority from inside the municipal border, but also people from outside, because when you do this, you really have to open your ears and eyes and be able to learn. We also realized from the 2 first iterations that not having the city council in the middle of what we had been doing, because we are born as a public-private partnership, so there's no fixed rule that the city council should endorse this planning. But I think we learned our lessons from the first 2 iterations. So the city council approved the process here, and we went through, I think, exactly also the steps that Koldo mentioned, maybe a little bit different heading. We also did energy modeling, like Koldo mentioned. And we found this process very not only inspiring but also useful. But we also learned that to be efficient here and to get to our destination, it's important not just to bring people together, but to support it technically, to have a very good and robust process, and also add communication skills, because at the end it's not about what 100 people think we should be doing and how we should be acting, but also how we engage the additional 74,000. The roadmap 2025 execution have been a follow-up on these working groups that were established. We realized very soon that this gear shift was easier to put a painting here than to add more wind turbines, especially because this is offshore. We realized that having not only one biogas but two biogas plants and a number of huge PV solar plants, we really had to plan for this. We had to engage, and we also had to look into business model because of this. A lot of this is based on also economics. Still doing that, flying very high, very strategic. We also looked into people having gas and oil burners, getting rid of that. So what's the direction? Green district heating and heat pumps. We looked how we could help companies and small, medium-sized, and also building owners, house associations, with getting their job done in what we now call a climate journey or customer journey, you might call it. We continued our communication. We have been frequent monitoring. This is why we know where we are exactly, also by sector. And we also continued working with new EU and national programs. And I think the understanding along that is also that data is king, and therefore also the smart part of the SmartEnCity becomes increasingly important. So what's the next step? Actually, these days and on Thursday we will have the 100 people meeting again, because we realized that even we made a very good plan, that the environment, the surrounding, the frame setting is changing. Denmark now have a climate law. We have a national government much more focused. Can they do more? Yes, definitely. Like also we heard in the morning, we see EU being very, very important here. And we also see a need for new technical solutions. How can we turn renewables into valuable power to value or power to X combinations? This is a plan that was initiated a couple of months back. It will be completed. It will be presented and committed by the city council before they leave for their Christmas vacation. And now it's no longer just 8 groups, you can see, and it's also been renamed because now the fancy word is hotspot groups. But each of these groups, many of them have the same participants, but these people have met, they have discussed, and they will continue doing that additional 6 weeks. Then we will close, and hopefully this will give us the remaining part of our journey. Yes, that was my very short presentation. I don't know, Dilay, if questions are now or if they are later. That's
okay.
Up to you.
Thank you for that outstanding presentation. I would suggest that our audiences type their questions in the chat box, and we will use these questions at the end of the session, questions and answers part. Okay, I guess that answer shows. I would like to also now again invite you for a Mentimeter session. Again, you can use the same code for the next question, and that's here. You can see what is the biggest obstacle city leaders say they can face in developing smart city initiatives. We are wondering what are your answers? Okay. Most of the participants thinks that the budget financial constraints are the biggest obstacle. Sorry. I just want to say that the biggest obstacle for the city leaders, based on the other researchers, that's the gaining support of the citizens and their stakeholders. So in that context, I can say that the engagement, what we are talking about, the step one engagement of our strategy, Cities for Zero, is quite important to consider and implement. Now we will continue with our third presenter. He is Raimond. Raimond is the Vice Mayor of Tartu, the manager of the Tartu Smart City project, and a member of the council of several associations with the participation of the city of Tartu. He is responsible for the urban management, energy management, environmental protection, entrepreneurship, innovation, and tourism. I would like to hand over to Raimond to start his presentation. Welcome, Raimond.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here about activities in our lovely city called Tartu, which is the second largest city in Estonia. So I will just try to control the slides. Let's see if it works.
If not, just let me continue.
Yeah, it seems that it doesn't work. Today, it's a technical challenge. So I will just give up the control and you can change the slides for me. So next one, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so far I will just speak. As you heard from Koldo, all the cities use the same methodology. I will not cover this part anymore. We are not as far as Sonderborg is. I mean that we do not have this plan being existing for a long time. It has been approved in our city council in spring this year. So we cannot speak too much about the outcomes yet. But I will basically speak about the aspects what we found important in our plan and which were handled actually. So Dilay, can you have the presentation for me? Or not?
Sorry, I guess there's a problem with sharing the screen.
Okay.
I will share again. Is it working?
Yeah, it's just part of the slides. No photos basically, but but okay.
Last try.
Okay, I see that we have technical issues now because okay, now it's working better, but yeah, okay, please go back a bit.
Go back, okay.
Yeah, as I told, we had the same methodology, but still we had another aim because in case of our strategic view, and we had the aim to also fulfill the requirements that were actually asked in the frame of Covenant of Mayors that we joined as a city in 2014. So with the joining of this Covenant of Mayors, we also took the responsibility to prepare our Sustainable Energy Action Plan that we had for the years 2015 to 2020. And then with the same plan that we used for covering the needs in the frame of SmartEnCity, we also covered the needs for common mayors and completed sustainable energy and climate action plan for our city, and it's called Tartu Energy 2030. So next slide, please. So what we actually aimed with a plan, we aimed 40% of decrease in CO2 emissions by 2030. So it's a kind of mid-stop. Our further view, of course, it's to have the carbon-free society here in Tartu also. So we are planning to have it by 2050. If it's possible to have it earlier, of course, it's excellent. But so far we have actually had a negative trend. So the next slide, please. Okay. Yeah. So here you can see what has actually happened during the years 2010 and 2017. So we have had an increase in CO2 emissions, and the 40% decrease that we are aiming at, it's basing on the year 2010. So we are trying to decrease the CO2 emissions from that level what we had. So basically, it means that compared to the level what we had in 2017, we have to decrease it more than 50%. So that's our actual challenge, and we are really hoping to change this trend, this negative trend, and then therefore we have also changed our approach. Early on, we were mainly concentrating on the municipal sector activities. And as you see here on this graphic, also we have decreased in case of the municipal sector CO2 emissions quite remarkably. Also the emissions, it was more than 20%. But in case of other sectors, also emissions were growing. And it's basically we didn't address any activities to private and the rest of the public sector. And that's why we consider that we didn't reach our aims also. So next one, please. So basically, no big surprise what we are basing, what are the pillars we are basing our plan at. First, we are, of course, trying to increase the renewable energy production in the region. So the next one, we are, of course, trying to also, yeah, sorry, the slides are moving. So we are also trying to increase renewable energy consumption. So basically all the energy that is produced locally should be consumed locally also. And we also have concentrated on the decrease of energy consumption. But you know, you always have limits, and it's not possible to decrease energy consumption to zero, because for everyday habits and livings, you still need to consume energy also. And the fourth pillar that is really important in our case, it's the decrease in car traffic, because also the number of car trips taken here in the city of Tartu, it has been increasing year after year. So despite of all other, let's say, all other transport opportunities and options what we have here, we still have the car traffic increasing. So next one, please. Yeah, I'm sorry that the slides are not proper because we have lost many images on the slides, but I hope it's still okay for you. So in case of residential sector, you know that also renovation is one of the most important activities in the frame of Green Deal, and that's why also in our Energy and Climate Action Plan we have concentrated a lot of attention on the residential sector and renovation. So we have the plan to have until year 2030 to have 50% of our apartment buildings retrofitted, and also 40% of our private houses retrofitted. So it's a great challenge. It means that we have to increase the speed of retrofitting almost 3 times compared to the previous period. So next one, please. Another great issue what we had is related to the district heating and district cooling. Tartu, yes, is a city which has district cooling network also now. And just for your to gain your attention, I have to say that district cooling is helping you to decrease the energy use about 70% compared to the building-based cooling solutions. So it's really something to consider for all the cities in Europe, because you require cooling in those huge buildings like shopping centers and many other public buildings all through the year, and you are spending a lot of energy on cooling. But in our case, we of course paid a lot of attention on district heating, because district heating is the major heating possibility what we have here in our city, and the number of users is increasing year after year. So we had the discussions if using like the wood chips in the district heating, if it's proper or it's not green enough. So we had those discussions and ended up with a plan that all the wood chips that are used for district heating should be low value. So should be kind of residuals from the forest, for example, or from other industries, and then it needs to be certified that those wood chips are actually low quality wood chips. And then we ended up with positive result to continue with our district heating. So the next slide, which is also on your screens already, it's a mobility in Tartu, and you can see here how actually the share of car trips has been increasing year after year. So our main target now is to increase share of cycling, because cycling is in our compact city. We have 7 kilometers from one border of the city to the other. Cycling is a great opportunity, and we can see a huge potential here. We have doubled the number of cycling trips during the last 5 years. So we can see that this growth is still continuing. So next one, please. And we have also pointed out some mobility actions here, how we could achieve our aims. So we are, one of the problems what we have right now, it's actually the urban sprawl, if you know what I mean, that we have the neighboring municipalities, which we have next to the city. In those cities, the number of inhabitants is growing remarkably. And it means that if those citizens or those inhabitants are using Tartu city for everyday, like school trips or work trips or whatever, then they are like creating extra traffic. So our main challenge is now how to avoid the number of cars coming from the neighboring municipalities to the city of Tartu. And that's why we have considered, for example, mobility hubs, which we will have on the border of the city. So you can leave your car to the mobility hub and take public transportation or bicycle from that hub. And we have also, of course, discussed how the public transportation system could be as seamless as possible in case of our city and the neighboring municipalities, so that it would be really easy for people to use public transportation and also to have the intervals of departures as short as possible, because otherwise, if public transportation is not offering really good quality service, it's not possible also to have people using public transportation. So next one, please. So as I told earlier, what was the problem in case of previous period with our action plan? We didn't involve other sectors to the activities, but right now we have concentrated our activities on community agreement. It basically means that we will ask different companies in our city and also different like housing cooperatives and different other institutions to join the community agreement, and by signing the community agreement, they agree to use 100% renewable energy in their everyday actions, and then also to use just green heating for their buildings. So that's something really new, what we have planned for this new period. And the last part, it's about the climate change adaptation. That was also part of our energy and climate action plan. And here you can see that we have divided it into 4 different sections. The first one is green adaptation, which basically means that we have to fight with those temperatures in the city environment, which are really getting high in summers, to have enough green areas, to have the green areas connected to each other, not just to have separately standing green areas, but to have it connected to each other. So it's our green adaptations, and we have blue adaptation because we have seen increase in the floodings from the river. Also, we have faced recently intensive rainfalls. So we are preparing our pipe network and also natural solutions for this kind of blue adaptation activities. And the next one is infrastructure adaptation. So we have also had storms and different other climate change kind of activities here, climate change like problems here. And that's why we are more and more concentrating with our infrastructure companies also to increase the reliability of the infrastructure in case of extreme weather conditions. So we have the infrastructure adaptation as one of the key topics on our table. And the last but not least, it's knowledge of our citizens, and not only citizens, but also public and private institutions. It's important to continuously to increase the knowledge about climate challenges and how people and companies could actually behave properly to avoid actually the negative impact on the climate change. So that's all from my side very shortly. Thank you so much for the attention, and sorry for the technical issues that the presentation was not working properly. Thank you.
Okay, now, thank you so much, Raimond, and I'm also sorry for the technical difficulties. Yeah. Then let's see the things from the Vitoria-Gasteiz perspective. Beatriz developed her professional career as a self-employed architect with her own architecture studio, developing different type of projects. And in 2015, she has begun to work as an architect in Vitoria-Gasteiz City Council in the Urban Landscape Department, working as a coordinator in projects, urbanism, normative integration of the green infrastructure in Vitoria-Gasteiz. So, floor is yours. Welcome, Beatriz.
Thank you very much, Dilay, for your kind words, and thank you to the city of Sonderborg for hosting this event. You have the control, right, Dilay?
Yes.
Okay. So, in order to get a snapshot of the city and the municipality as a whole, I'd like to introduce briefly some figures, some basis facts about our municipality, because I don't know if all of you know Vitoria-Gasteiz. It's located in northern Spain, and Vitoria is the administrative capital of the Basque Country, and it's the largest municipality in the region by area, with 2,276 square kilometers and 254,000 inhabitants. The municipality includes a city and an extensive rural area containing 63 small population centers. It's a medium-sized city, and our path towards sustainability has been consistent since the 80s, which has been recognized with the European Green Capital in 2012 and the Global City Award in 2019. Next slide, please. City planning has also been a constant in its evolution from the first expansion in early medieval 13th century until the modern peripheral neighborhoods and parks. And this gives us a compact pedestrian scale city with no metropolitan area, 100 households per hectare in residential areas, a 45 square meter green space per capita, and some other facts that you can see in this slide. And with all of this, we can say we have developed a city that coheses in harmony with its environment. Next slide. Well, you have no, yes, now, in 2008, and you can see here, Vitoria-Gasteiz joined the Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, which was launched with the ambition to gather local governments voluntarily committed to achieving and exceeding the European Union's climate and energy targets, and we renewed our commitments this past year. And it was with this last commitment when we have started the development of our new SICAP, new Sustainable Energy and Climate Action Plan. Next slide, please. Okay, this was the scenario of our previous SIAP, 2006 to 2020. And as you can see, the green line shows the real data of what we achieved with our previous climate action plan. Now we have the real data, and we know that we achieved a little bit better than that, so we will have to update these graphics. Next slide, please. But here are our commitments with the renewable compromises that we signed with the Covenant of Mayors. The reduction of CO2 emissions by 40%, to increase our resilience capacity, to exchange our experiences, and to disseminate our results. Next slide, please. Well, and for the development of our new SICAP 2030, we have decided to split the process in two pieces, or in two action plans that at the end will be merged into our SICAP. These two action plans, as you can see in this slide, are our Sustainable Energy Action Plan and our Climate Adaptation Action Plan. We will talk a little bit more about the Sustainable Energy Action Plan. Next slide, please. Well, this slide shows our process of developing this SICAP, but as my colleague Koldo has explained it earlier, I'm not going to stop myself here. So next slide, please. Yes, this one. Thank you. But what I want you to show you is these four scenarios and the two main axes that we use to create them. With these tools, we have a very, very interesting conversation in our participatory process, both internally in the boundary of the city council, and then with the city itself, with the citizens and other stakeholders. You can see the two main axes, where the first one is the high institutional and citizen awareness, and the other one is the GHG emission goal achieves and increased resilience. So with these two axes, we create these four scenarios, and between these four scenarios, the city of the Gasteiz in a whole has to choose one. And this is the main goal of what Vitoria-Gasteiz wants to be in 2030. Next slide, please. And this is what we want. We want a Vitoria-Gasteiz that is satisfied that it has achieved its GHG emissions reduction goals. Next slide, please. And what that means is a carbon neutral city, of course, but and climate change resilience with a safe, sustainable and affordable energy services for everybody, and of course a thrive, modern and competitive city. Next slide, please. Well, these two next slides show you some data about our energy model of this integrated energy transition action plan. And because we have a very little time, And I think you will have these presentations available after, right? Yes. Well, I'm going through them, and you will have time later to check them. And if you want to ask any question, please feel free to do them. Next slide. This one. So these are our city goals for 2030. As you can see, there are goals in reduction in energy consumption, reduction in GHG emissions, degree of electrification, final energy consumption with renewable energy, the installation of photovoltaic power. All of the numbers that you see here are very, very ambitious goals for us, for the city of Vitoria-Gasteiz. Next slide, please. But the city council, our city council, wants to go beyond our compromise and our legal obligations, and have established even more ambitious goals for 2030 in our energy transition plan. As you can see here, they are more ambitious than even our city. We want to have electric buses 100%. We'll have to. We want LED lamps by 100%, more electric vehicles, more coverage with renewable energy. So the city council goals are also very, very ambitious. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to give a very little explanation about the structure of our energy transition plan. We structure it with 2 general strategic goals, as you can see here, and 7 specific strategic goals. Next slide, please. But this one is what I think is the core of this action plan, the actions for the 2021-2030 period. This action, when we finally implement them, will lead us to achieve all of our previous goals that we talked about before. These actions are focused in 4 main sectors, as you can see: residential sector, internal mobility, municipal facilities and services, and tertiary sector. Then these actions will be disaggregated, if I could say that word, in specific projects. For example, we are developing a master plan for refurbishment of our gold neighborhoods. That, for example, will be crucial to our integral rehabilitation of 20,000 households. And our sustainable mobility action plan for also public space are implementing a lot of action. For example, we are implementing now the bus rapid transit and our cycling paths net. So these projects will help, of course, our internal mobility goal of reduce motorized mobility by 33%. Next slide, please. And this is the other big challenge, right? Because all of these action and projects to be implemented need investments. And it's, as you can see, it's not a little one, or not, at least not for our city size. It's more than 750 million euros. Next slide, please. So that's all. I think I'm in time. Thank you very much for your attention, of course. And I hope you have found this little and quick presentation interesting. Thank you, Dilay.
Thank you, Beatriz, and for that nice presentation. I guess all our audiences had a great information regarding Vitoria-Gasteiz and Tartu. And now maybe we want to interact a little bit more. Therefore, we will go for another Mentimeter question. And then this question is, what smart city dimension is a very high or a high priority for the highest number of the cities? Which mobility and transportation, physical and digital security, or energy and electricity is the high priority for the cities? Can you enter the questions?
I think you need to activate the voting.
Yeah, I should activate. Okay, we have again a technical problem. Sorry for that. I cannot open the again, but we will try later on. We just continue to our presentation, our session. Now we will continue with Ivanka. Next contribution will come from Asenovgrad, Bulgaria. Ivanka is the project manager in the field of sustainable energy projects at Sofia Energy Center. She is responsible for the whole city of the projects, such as managing the activities, task education in timely and efficient manner, organizing the work. So far she has successfully implemented over 20 multi-year international EU-funded projects. Floor is yours, Ivanka.
Thank you, Dilay, and thank you for this. Thank you, Sonderborg, for this opportunity to present our activities, and thank you to our participants. Actually, I will go very briefly through the Asenovgrad experience in sustainable energy and climate planning, because I know that the time is very short, but everyone who wants to ask me questions is welcome now or afterwards on the email that is shown at the end of my presentation. Asenovgrad is one of the 2 follower cities in SmartEnCity project, as already mentioned. What are the main starting points when we joined this project? It was not done on a greenfield. We have had in the past experience in sustainable energy planning. Asenovgrad has had sustainable energy action plan since 2012 that is has been implemented and is being monitored. Then there was an integrated plan for urban regeneration and development of the municipality, which already expired now, I mean, has been implemented and is over now. And also they had a municipal development plan, again until 2020, already finished. And that was one of the reasons that Asenovgrad joined this project, because there was a need to update and merge all the existing planning documents, including those about energy and climate actions. We also, as Koldo presented, the methodology developed within SmartEnCity, we use this methodology. Because it we consider it very efficient and useful tool for energy, integrated energy and climate planning. And what we actually had as a starting point was also within SmartEnCity, a cooperation with ProjectZero and Plan Energy to use their energy balance tool to prepare, because you know data is very important when you are making a plan. Do you hear me? Ало, Жоро, аз в момента презентирам. Dilay, do you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry because someone. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. So I thought that the line is lost, and that's why. Okay.
No,
you.
everything's worked perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for this. What we did is to collect data with the help of the within this cooperation with Plan Energy and ProjectZero from Denmark. To collect data about the energy consumption of the municipality, to prepare the energy balance, to establish the baseline, and to develop future scenarios for the energy development of the municipality in order to have the background for energy and climate planning in the future. Next slide, please. So what were the main goals for Asenovgrad within this process? To update the already existing plans, as I already mentioned, to set new and ambitious targets for energy efficiency and CO2 reduction in this plan up to 2028, and a further vision for 2050, to merge all these strategic documents in one integrated document, which is called Plan for Integrated Development of the Municipality, with a specific part that is devoted to energy and climate planning, which was the task within SmartEnCity project. And of course, to ensure all the prerequisites to implement the foreseen measures and projects in order to reach the targets. Next slide, please. So, the vision of Asenovgrad that has been set in the energy and climate plan of the city, integrated energy and climate plan, is to become carbon zero city by the year 2050. So what was the process? Very briefly, first there was a task force that was created. Then, as I already mentioned, the baseline was established in order to set the future targets based on this. Then a SWOT analysis was made. A stakeholder involvement workshop was done, and you can see some photos from it. Then scenarios have been developed, and the municipality, together with the other stakeholders from the citizens and local industries, picked up the preferred scenario. Next slide, please. Then the strategic planning took place, so update on the priorities and focus areas from the previous documents. Then concrete projects have been identified and selected to be included in the integrated energy and climate plan, and it was updated with the selected projects. And very important, there was a separate document called Roadmap, Integrated Energy and Climate Plan Roadmap, which incorporated all the projects that have been selected and included, together with the indicative investment, timeline for implementation, and indicative possible sources of funding. This part of this integrated energy and climate plan, together with the roadmap, have been merged with the integrated development of the municipality plan, the master plan, if I can say, incorporated in this master plan as part 4 there. And the whole document, integrated development of the municipality plan, was adopted by the Municipal Council on 27th of January 2021, so several months ago. Next slide, please. Very briefly, what are the main priorities and focus areas in the already adopted integrated energy and climate plan? This is energy efficiency in buildings, in public buildings, but most of the effort will be directed towards private buildings and involvement of citizens and households in energy renovation of private buildings, because they account for more than 60% of the total consumption in the municipality, total energy consumption. So this is a very important sector for the municipality. Utilization of local biomass. This is mainly residuals from agriculture, and this is biomass from agriculture, from crop growing, and from biogas from animal breeding, which is available. The potential is available in the municipality. Establishment of rural-urban partnerships between Asenovgrad and neighboring rural municipalities, where there is a lot of agricultural activity going on for utilization of this biomass. Involvement of local industries and cooperatives in these activities, again targeting agricultural biomass, because it is an important source of energy, possible energy, renewable energy generation. Utilization of local PV potential. This is another focus area of this plan. Next slide, please. The final goal of the municipality is to be digitalized, if I can say so. We inserted a specific project to follow up on the city information of open platforms that have been developed in Tartu and Sonderborg within SmartEnCity project. And we want to see, is it suitable for Asenovgrad conditions, and how we can adopt and introduce this city information open platform in order to contribute to the digitalization of the municipality, which is one of the main goals in this plan. We also included mapping of available funding sources, as I said, because it's part of the roadmap that has been developed. Very important part of the plan is actions to develop methodologies and tools to engage citizens in the implementation phase, because we did our best to engage them in the planning phase, but it's very important, even more important, I would say, to engage them in the implementation phase. And it turned out to be a very difficult task. It's one of them, it's even a bigger issue than the funding sources, as you mentioned before that. So there are, in the roadmap, there are 52 investment projects for total indicative investment of more than 28 million euro, organized in 6 sectors, as I already mentioned: energy efficiency, renewable energy, transport, information and communication technologies, climate adaptation and disaster prevention, and so-called soft measures like citizen engagement measures, promotional campaigns, and so on. And the projects have been listed with name, investment, timeline, and intended financial sources in order to facilitate implementation. That's all from my part. I hope that I was in time, and I'm ready to answer all questions if there are from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ivanka. I guess for Ivanka, maybe we can have an exception. If you have questions to Ivanka, please ask her now directly, because she will not able to attend the panel session, unfortunately. So just I will give you some minutes if you want to ask questions. I haven't seen any questions in the chat. Actually, one common question. Maybe I can just read this question. Just wait, please. Okay, that was a question from Portugal. 2 questions. Which tools do you recommend to develop the city energy model? And the second one is what strategies for the traffic reducing would you recommend for cities that you need to surpass cross-traffic to measure surrounding cities? So maybe first with the city energy model, Ivanka.
Yeah, actually, the tool that we used within for our energy plan was the one developed by PlanEnergy, which is one of the partners, Danish partners in the SmartEnCity project. The tool is very useful. It's quite simple to use, but with very good results. So I would recommend this tool. I don't know if someone wants to contact the colleagues from PlanEnergy and ask more details about the access to the tool, then this is something I cannot comment. But I can recommend the tool because we used it and it with very good results. It gave us, of course, it's very important to have reliable data as well. I mean, you have to cooperate with local utilities in order to get real data about the energy consumption. But the tool that we used is the one of PlanEnergy, and we are quite satisfied with it. You can provide Dilay, I guess, contacts.
Exactly. I just want to also add in information as we have the SmartEnCity webpage regarding this energy plan planning tool from PlanEnergy. We have some recorded webinars and also contact information from the PlanEnergy. You just visit SmartEnCity webpage and try to get some knowledge and contact information. Thank you, Ivanka. Do you also add some information regarding traffic reducing?
Yeah, actually, it's, of course, traffic is a big problem, but in our case, it's a problem because Asenovgrad is a commuter city. People commute from Asenovgrad to the neighboring town of Plovdiv, which is much bigger and attracts citizens. And how to reduce the traffic, it's a very important question. First, we should, in Asenovgrad, we should change the mood and the thinking of the citizens, because cars are getting more and more, like in Tartu and I guess in other cities. So we consider the first and most important step is involvement of citizens in in promotional campaigns, in campaigns to persuade them to direct to other means of transportation. Of course, we have to ensure other means of transportation for them. One of the possible and considered measures is biking to Plovdiv because it's not far. The other one is improving the public transport. That is, these are the two major solutions that we are thinking about in order to reduce cars, but it's a very difficult question. I have to admit, very difficult.
Maybe we can continue discuss about this in the next session. I mean, next question and answers. Thank you, Ivanka, for your contributions and presentation.
You're welcome.
Our last presenter is Michele from Lecce. He has a master's degree in environmental engineering with a specialization in life cycle assessment and life cycle thinking. Since 2010, in Rina, formerly known as the Polonia, his main research field are sustainability topic, integrated planning, innovation in industry and cities, with a focus on environmental, social, and economic assessment. So thank you, Michele, that you're here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dilay, for the introduction, and thank you to Sonderborg Municipality for giving us this possibility to show and to present the main outcomes of the activities that we did in Lecce. Here I'm trying to understand if the slide can work. Okay, perfect. I will just to introduce briefly the context in which we are operating. Lecce is a medium city in the south of Italy, a little bit less than 100,000 inhabitants. It is very famous for being a touristic place, but also it is a university city with agricultural center, also very known for the production of the olive oil and the wine. Lecce in practice is geographically speaking locating in the bottom of the hill of the Boot, if we consider Italy a Boot, and mainly Lecce Municipality joined the Covenant of Mayor in 2012 with the main objective at the beginning to the reduction of the CO2 emission of 20% within 2020. Of course, now with the creation and the realization of the EIP, they fixed a new objective for the 2030 that we will see after. Of course, Lecce, it has been also very active in terms of tourism and culture, and has been also the capital of the Italian capital of the culture in 2015. Here it is briefly reported, the process that we followed, which is more or less in practice the process described before by Koldo. So it has been a process tested before in the lighthouse cities, and so Lecce, with that is a follower city in this project, try to follow the instruction and the methodology in order to implement this integrated energy plan with the final objective of reducing the CO2 emission of the 40% within the 2030 compared to the results and to the data of the 2007. Here I tried to explain step by step, considering the process described before by Koldo, what we have done in Lecce. Also try to define a timeline for the activities performed in the last 3 years, I would say. So the first step has been the engagement process, so the foundation of a local group of work. In fact, in November 2018, the group was mainly constituted by the Lecce Municipality technical offices, in practice the department dealing with public works, and of course Rina supported this group, in particular with expertise of environmental and also civil engineers. Together, the two entities started with the identification of the key stakeholder based on a mixed approach, so using some existing knowledge and also promoting an expression of interest, where they try to involve in this group of key stakeholder members and people coming from the energy sector, the mobility, the waste management, the government, and also citizen. More in fact than 100 invitations were sent, and it was created a group of people, or group of stakeholders that supported the creation of the EP in the next step. The second step of the IAP process was, so starting from November 2018 until February, the analysis process. In practice, it was a characterization of the city based on 6 domains, covering the most relevant system of the cities in terms of local condition, energy supply and consuming partners, building, urban mobility, ICT, and citizen and stakeholder engagement. In this phase, also for Lecce, the tool provided by Plan Energy has been used as an instrument for performing this kind of analysis, together with a lot of data coming from the experience of the SIAP, plus some other information collected by the municipality and by the offices related to the municipality. Then the third step of the analysis has been the diagnosis step. So we fixed, the core group fixed the strategic question, which was the reduction of the CO2 emission by 40% within the 2030. And so Lecce would like to obtain, to arrive to finalize this objective through the development of several actions in different fields, in different areas, like energy efficiency, renewables, mobility, ICT, and citizen involvement. To do this, a first SWOT analysis has been developed by the task force, considering analyzing different aspects. For instance, the work done by the lighthouse cities, the information collected in the baseline, the smart city trend list, the strategic question, and the main objective of the municipality, in order to identify which were the external opportunities and external threats applied to the smart city trends, and also the city main strengths and weaknesses, considering, of course, the specific situation of Lecce. Then this gives the possibility to move to the fourth step of this process, which was the envision process. In practice, a workshop has been organized, was held in Lecce in July 2019. It involved more than 40 stakeholders, considering the 100 invitations sent at the beginning, people coming from public institution, university, association, public and private companies. During the event, 4 scenarios were detailed in the different working group and presented to the participant. The objective was to have in each sector, in each table, the representative of each sector, so energy, mobility, ICT, and governance, in order to define the characteristics and the characteristics of each scenario, and vote the most desirable scenario for Lecce for 2030. The 4 scenarios were defined through these graphs. So there were the 2 main lines, urban decarbonization and urban carbonization, and weak or strong collaboration between stakeholders. The working group selected as the most probable scenario, the scenario D, where there is a collaboration and information which could be considered the first step towards the change, with several highlights. So the city carbonization, the collaboration again between stakeholders, the increase of citizen information and awareness in the topic like environmental sustainability, and also the need to improve or better reduce the barriers for the legislation. Of course, for each scenario has been described a list of characteristics and properties, and at the end, this kind of scenario, the scenario D, has been selected. This was the last step before the creation of the plan, so the 5th step of the process, which ended with the creation of the IP in December 2020, where the main objective was perfect the master scenario, starting from the information and the collaboration between different actors in order to overcome the barriers and reduce the CO2 emission. A list of action per sector, tailored of course on the interest of the municipality, considering also feedback coming from the stakeholder, has been finalized by the project task force, and finally we have been able to define several actions, considering the okay, I'm missing a slide. I don't know why. Okay. Okay, this one. Four main strategies axes have been selected. For each strategy, there have been selected several actions with the aim to reduce the CO2 emission of the 40% within the 2030. So, considering a baseline of more than 400,000 tons of CO2 in 2007, the objective is to arrive in terms of emission of the municipality at around 240,000 tons of CO2 in 2030, considering different contribution, mainly coming from the energy sector, and mobility, with less contribution in terms of reduction of CO2 emission from ICT technologies and governance. Beyond this, the definition of the AP, we focused then on the specific roadmaps. So we selected 4 of the action presented in the AP. The action are these presented in the bullet point. So energy efficiency in the public real estate, production of energy from renewables, creation of energy community in terms of positive energy district, and also promotion on internal training course for the employees. And so for this specific action, we went into more detail in terms of information provided, and so we defined also the possible stakeholder involved, the intervention phase, the step for implementation, and also we identified also some financing opportunities. Mixing the IAP report and the roadmap, we finalized this document, and which is under approval from Lecce Municipality, and so we plan in the future, in the next future, to start with the first intervention, taking into account the lesson learned and the instruction provided in the EAP. For sure, we can say that the main lesson learned in this process is that it is very important to engage citizen and stakeholder, and of course a strong political commitment has been very important in the second part of these activities in order to arrive to concrete result shared with the political side, and so that can be really realized in the municipality of Lecce. So thanks for your attention, and of course if you have some question, I'm available for answer.
Thank you, Michele, for your presentation. I guess now we just directly jump to the panel discussion because we have the time constraints, and then it's better to start. In the panel discussion, we will have all our presenters, all 6 presenters that or 5, unfortunately, Ivanka cannot join. And then we will have some questions for all of you. Now we have, I guess you can see all of us. I would start with the question to all of you, maybe most of the city representatives from Tartu, from Vitoria-Gasteiz and Lecce. What was your biggest challenge when creating a robust integrated energy plan? How did you overcome it? Maybe, Raimond, maybe you can start, or I don't know, feel free.
Yes, hello. To be really honest, the biggest challenge in the beginning was actually the collection of data, because if the data is not easily available, it might be a really huge challenge for the cities to just understand what is your current situation and what is a baseline. You need to collect data, and that was really difficult in the beginning. So later on, we had, of course, other challenges, mainly related to, let's say, arriving to mutual agreement. So it basically means to agree into which directions we should go, and which are those directions which are accepted by the community. So especially when I mean this, I just remind myself of the traffic issues, because we have really, let's say, kind of different approaches to traffic in the society or community here. So we have people who are saying that we should close the city for traffic, for car traffic totally. We have people who are saying that we need to create new car parking places, etc., etc. So that was really complicated. But I think it's quite similar in other cities also.
Yes, we can hear from the Vitoria-Gasteiz if it was similar.
Well, I think our challenge wasn't data itself, because we have been working with indicators and sustainable indicators for quite a while now. But I think how to work us all together, it was one of our main challenges. And the other one is citizen engagement. The first one for us is because an energy transition plan, it involves a lot of city councils departments. It was quite difficult to get all involved in this matter, and to get all of us working as a group, because you have to call so many people and to meetings with a lot of people, and to get together, just same as Raimond said. It's very difficult to agree in these things, right? And the second one, as I said, is involving citizens and engaging them into these kind of processes. Even though here in Vitoria-Gasteiz we have a very good participatory structure, it's a difficult task to achieve for a city, and we are trying. In also, I think next month we are going to have our climate adaptation plan participatory process, and we want to do it better than the energy transition plan process, but we keep working on them, and we still finding it very challenging.
Thank you so much. Michele, do you want to answer this question from Lecce perspective?
Yes. Oh, for sure, I agree with the feedback of Beatriz and Raimond, because the involvement of citizen and, generally speaking, stakeholder has been something that has been difficult, especially at the beginning, because when we sent, for instance, the request of participation and so on, they were proactive and they answered. But then, when they understood the first step of the activities to be done, we had some, let me say, problems in really engaging them in the process, but thanks to some specific meeting and also the organization of the workshop in Lecce, they really understood the objective and the advantage also to be involved in this process, because they could act as actor in the definition strategies for the municipality in which they live, in which they work. And so at the end we tried and we success in involving actively the different stakeholders.
Thank you so much, Michele. Maybe from this point, I can continue asking again the citizen engagement, or in general participation. Which channels of communication or participation have you used? You can continue, Michele, or other city representative. Peter, I cannot see him, but yeah.
Yes, for sure. I think that we used several channels for involving the stakeholder and the citizen. We started with the web, so with a page on the Lecce municipality, try to exploit this web communication, but also we then used the personal, let me say, knowledge, so going with direct invitation to the people. We try to promote with the channel of the municipality the project, so we tried to use different strategies, some let me say modern, some less modern, so basically on the physical interaction with the people, with the stakeholder, and finally we obtained our result.
Yeah, maybe from the theoretical perspective, Koldo can advise some channels for the communication or participation.
Sure. Well, I was also involved in Vitoria's case, so at least what they did, I can talk maybe on behalf of Beatriz, but
yes,
they created a channel, an email address. It was generic, but it was somehow to make a bit more corporative sense of the invitation for all these workshops, and everything was also signed by the deputy mayor of urban planning, or even the mayor. Somehow it's like it's an authority remark, and usually people get more involved into those kind of stakeholders because they see there is some political will and people wants to get motivated on that. Yeah, Beatriz.
Yes, Koldo, I want only to add that I think we've just finished one very I think successful campaign, energy, 100% citizen energy, which I think it was the main goal was to involve citizens in climate change and energy transition. And I think that's another way, another tool you can use for citizen engagement, the campaigns that you can use.
Thank you.
I may be also able to
Sure,
comment on behalf of the Sonderborg. We had, as I mentioned, 100 stakeholders involved. It's always a question of finding the right balance. These 100 were segmented into 8 working groups, just to mention that we have 18,600 homeowners, families owning their own home or house, and they were represented by 14 people coming from local banks, from craftsmen, from architects, from the different municipal departments, just to mention a few. So our process was very much based on stakeholder representation. I think inviting 74,000 people for doing the plan is maybe mission impossible, but I think then it's very important after you have been doing that plan to be prepared to discuss and share the plan. Our plan had to be endorsed by the city council, so you could say that the process was an open process. Everybody knew it was going on, at least if you followed the discussions in the city council. But we, at the end of the process, found a need for introducing climate discussions, and we actually, together with an external communication agency, created a tool, a kind of you put on the table, and there are different words and different pieces like any game. I think it attracted some interest, and then I saw the other day in a newspaper that instead of having people protesting against the climate, we need to discuss the climate. And then I thought, wow, that was what we actually created a tool for back in 2019. So I think part of the learning here is communication is not just something you do when you do some planning. You need to actually stay in touch with your not only your stakeholders, your target groups, constantly. Saturday, in the weekend, we were in front of one of the banks, but promoting e-mobility, and a car dealer had presented 4 cars, and some of the reactions were, wow, they look nice, but they're very expensive. So what are the challenges? What is the benefit? I mean, this is from our point of view what you really need to step into on a day-to-day basis. Maybe not every Saturday, maybe not every Friday, but you need really to stay in touch with the city, with the community to understand. And ideally, this is also part of our stakeholder engagement strategy. We need to make sure that these 100 people, they being woken up any time of the day or the night, they can talk about the project, like also some of you might experience. The mayor did this morning. Having the city council on board, we also had a session this early summer with the city council, where they asked for more information to enable them to speak as ambassadors. So I think it's an ongoing, it's not a planning, it's an ongoing, it's actually what Koldo called the intervention with society. That's how we see communication.
Thank you so much, your insights and information, Peter. Maybe we can turn back to the question that I already asked to Ivanka, which was coming from one of our attendees. What strategies for the traffic reducing would you recommend for cities that needs to surpass crossing traffic to major surrounding cities? That's, it's more mobility perspective in cities. How can we...
Yes, I also spoke about the solutions in my presentation. So we can actually see in our case, at least, that the most beneficial activities could be, for the first, public transportation, to have it at a really good service level. And the second one is to actually create those mobility hubs, which I was describing, that people do not necessarily, if they are coming from the neighboring municipality or from the countryside, they don't have to enter the city with a car, and they can leave the car on the border of the city and use public transportation or bicycle or whatever other opportunities here in the city. So those are those activities what we can really see beneficial.
Yes, thank you, Raimond. Does anybody have, Beatriz, please, any?
Yes, well, here in Vitoria-Gasteiz, we are implementing super blocks planning strategy. So I think this super block strategy is mainly urbanism, and it reorganized the traffic that could not enter this super block, and we substitute and we impulse all the other mobility methods like bicycle or pedestrian, etc. For us are a very good tool to use in this mobility problem we see.
Okay, thank you so much for all your inputs and all your presentations and answer the questions. Unfortunately, although I want to continue with discussion in interactive session, we would like to, we should go further and also closing the session. So I just want to share the last closing slides with you. I want to continue with the or finalized with the SmartEnCity project 5 years ago, or 5.5 years ago. In 2016, SmartEnCity has started. 38 project partners from 6 countries and 5 small and medium-sized cities shared the vision to make smart zero carbon cities a reality in Europe. With this joint forces, we work together with the involvement of the most important stakeholders in the cities, namely citizens, on achieving a significant reduction of the energy demand through cost-effective retrofitting actions, on increasing the use of renewable energy sources, and on enhancing smart mobility in their cities. Yes, we have developed various intelligent and innovative solutions to achieve these goals. And in this booklet, in our final publication, you can see here, you can find all those solutions and insights from each cities. This publication can be downloaded from the our web page, and you will find we have collected the best practices. All presented solutions have been tested by the SmartEnCity partners, and also we are sharing our worst practices so that certain mistakes can be avoided in the future. Thank you again to all our presenters today, and thank you for attending this session. I just want to also give us a short view for the next day. Tomorrow, the conference will continue, and some of our presenters here, or some of the consortium members, SmartEnCity consortium members, will be presenting in several sessions as well. And one of the important sessions will be tomorrow afternoon between 14 and 16 of 17. And I would like to remind to join this session. Last thing, enjoy the rest of the Sonderborg Climate Neutrality Conference. If you have any questions or want to contact with the SmartEnCity coordination team, you can see their name and addresses from the coordination team, Tecnalia, and for the dissemination, communications, and press contact is my colleague Bettina. As you can reach her. Thank you again.
Dilay, the day is not over.
Yes,
that's a 15-minute break soon, but and then we will continue. But I don't know if you have a final competition here or something we should complete before we take the break.
As you wish.
Okay, no, it's. I think it's. We are done. I think and thank you, Dilay, for planning and orchestrating this discussion, which shows that and provides a very good background for the next discussion. How cities also in national, we have looked at international level can learn from each other, establish a methodology, as Koldo explained. But in the next session in 10-15 minutes, we will look into how cities at national level, in same language, in same national frame setting, can speed up their climate actions. And we will not only learn from I would say the usual suspect in Spain, in Italy, Bulgaria, Estonia, and Denmark, but we will also learn from Finland. And Ole, I have seen you are on board here from Ukraine, where you also have been very active. And I know the other network owners in like Hein is also having or facilitating a network. So please see you again in 10-15 minutes, 3:15. We will take another deep dive into challenges and opportunities. Enjoy your break, and thank you once again, Dilay.
Thank you, Dilay.
Thank you, Dilay.
You're welcome. I thank you. Have a nice break. See you soon.
Same. Bye.
Bye.